Modern blockbusters rely on spectacle, endless CGI, and explosive scenes that feel rehearsed and shallow while burying emotional weight beneath noise. These older films were crafted around character, conflict, and subtle transformation, not spectacle. They explored what happens when people confront uncertainty, moral dilemmas, identity crises, and cultural shifts in moments that stay with you. This is a list of 10 films from the 1960s that shaped cinema through thought and nuance, and still hold power decades later. The Graduate, 1967. Benjamin Braddock enters adult life, unsure of what he wants, carrying ambition that feels disconnected from any real purpose. He soon meets Mrs. Robinson, whose seduction pulls him into a situation that upends expectations he never truly believed in to begin with. Things become more complicated when he falls for her daughter Elaine, turning his confusion into something deeper, a reflection of generational fracture and quiet longing. The film captures shifting 1960s values, where advice like plastics lands with unease, and moments like Benjamin in a scuba suit or crashing a wedding speak more to panic than rebellion. Scenes feel unhurried yet tense, tapping into youthful paralysis and discomfort with inherited roles. The film earned over $104 million domestically, becoming the top box office winner of 1967 and only the third film in history at that time to surpass $100 million, a breakthrough both culturally and financially. The phrase Mrs. Robinson entered everyday language, and Simon & Garfunkel's Mrs. Robinson transformed from an unfinished song titled Mrs. Roosevelt into a defining anthem. Ultimately, it remains less about plot and more about posture, a youth caught between duty and revolt in a world that hints both excitement and emptiness. Lawrence of Arabia, 1962. T.E. Lawrence emerges from obscurity to lead tribal coalitions across desert wastelands, his journey reflecting both political upheaval and personal unraveling amid sweeping visuals that still captivate today. The film interrogates identity, colonial legacy, and the cost of myth-making, while letting the camera linger on shifting sands, strategic alliances, and internal conflict. Peter O'Toole delivered an unexpected breakthrough performance, and filming took place in Jordan, Morocco, and Spain under extreme conditions. The mirage arrival of Omar Sharif's character, filmed in a single take, became legendary. It earned more than $70 million worldwide during its initial run, proving that audiences will follow a thoughtful, expansive drama across unlikely terrain. The score and cinematography remain landmarks in film history, shaping how grand historical dramas are framed and felt even today. What keeps the film alive isn't just its size or ambition, it's the quiet that follows each hard-won moment, the feeling that someone can become a symbol of greatness while privately drifting further from any sense of who they really are. Lawrence walked away from fame with no clear sense of who he'd become, and the film mirrors that disorientation with haunting precision. His legacy feels as much like a question as a victory. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 1966. Three morally tangled gunslingers chase Confederate gold across a fragmented landscape, their alliances shifting as desert wind blows suspicion and desperation across every dusty mile. Blondie, Angel Eyes, and Tuco circle each other with greed as motive and mistrust as companion, weaving a story where survival hinges less on bullets and more on reading intentions. Ennio Morricone's Ecstasy of Gold transforms climax into emotion, and Eli Wallach's commitment included performing dangerous stunts, one involving a runaway horse nearly turned fatal. The film earned over $25 million in the US alone and cemented itself as a spaghetti western classic that continues to inspire anti-hero storytelling and stylistic pastiches. Leone built a custom cemetery of over 5,000 grave markers for the final confrontation, reused sets and extras from earlier films for gritty realism, and delivered a title that still signals style over predictability. Underneath the dust lies an exploration of chaos, context, and survival, where moral ambiguity becomes more powerful than clear virtue. Psycho, 1960. A woman steals $40,000 from her employer, runs from the life she's built, and checks into a roadside motel just off the highway. She's not running from violence. Not yet. She's running from the weight of decisions she can't undo. And the man who checks her in, polite, quiet, almost childlike, offers nothing more threatening than a plate of sandwiches and a casual interest in taxidermy. That's how Psycho sets the trap. Slowly, carefully. It's not a horror movie in the way we use that word now. There are no demons, no shadows in the basement. There's just a lonely house on a hill, a mother we never see, and a shower scene that lasts 45 seconds but shattered every rule Hollywood thought it had. But the real rupture wasn't technical. It was narrative. The film kills its main character halfway through. It was made for under $1 million and grossed over $50 million. But the money isn't what mattered. Psycho rewired thrillers. It made horror psychological, personal, and quiet. Blow Up, 1966. Thomas is a successful but jaded fashion photographer in 1960s London, drifting between shoots, models, and existential boredom. While wandering through Marion Park with his camera, he photographs a couple embracing under the trees. The woman, Jane, played by Vanessa Redgrave, later shows up at his studio, urgently asking for the negatives. Suspicious, Thomas examines the images more closely and begins to uncover something strange: a man with a gun in the bushes and possibly a body lying in the grass. He returns to the park and finds what looks like a corpse, but when he goes back again, it's gone. The more he investigates, the more truth slips away. Jane vanishes. His film is stolen, and the photographs, once blown up and overanalyzed, dissolve into abstract shapes barely recognizable as evidence. Antonioni's camera follows him through a decaying, hyper-stylized London. White studios, jazz clubs, empty streets. Every setting feels curated, disconnected, performative. The plot doesn't climax so much as evaporate. Dialogue trails off. Mysteries remain. In the final scene, a mimed tennis match with an invisible ball plays out in silence, a haunting metaphor for illusion and complicity. The film grossed over $20 million globally and pushed cinematic boundaries with its nudity, ambiguity, and refusal to explain itself. Loosely inspired by a real murder case, photographed by David Bailey, Blow Up became both a time capsule of swinging London and a psychological thriller that asked, what if the camera lies? The Apartment, 1960. A clerical worker loans his apartment to corporate executives for extramarital affairs and navigates loneliness, ambition, and unexpected kindness when he falls for one of the women involved. As personal and professional boundaries blur, he must reconsider his place in a world built on compromise and hidden needs. It pushed conventions with frank depiction of adultery and career ambition, earning 5 Academy Awards including Best Picture and Director, and sparking debates about ethics and emotional labor. Grossing over $24 million in the US, it connected with viewers who recognized the emptiness behind office routines and emotional distance masked by ambition. The characters echoed real-life stories of disillusioned clerks. Its Christmas setting added bittersweet reflection amid holiday cheer, and its tone balanced humor with humane depth. What remains is a story of quiet awakening, of discovering moral worth in honesty and kindness amid corporate blandness. Persona, 1966. A nurse caring for a silent actress at a remote seaside house finds her own identity gradually merging with the woman she cares for, creating psychological tension that unfolds through glances, silence, and symbolic images. Bergman uses close-ups, film leader interruptions, and unspoken gestures to dissolve narrative certainty and invite the viewer into a world where identities feel fluid. Though not a commercial blockbuster, it became a Paramount art house success and an essential study piece in film programs across generations. Its courageous questions about identity, silence, and trauma pushed cinematic boundaries and sparked academic debate on form and meaning. It lingers because it reframes what identity feels like when story structure collapses and what remains when words fall away. In the heat of the night, 1967, a man is found murdered in a small southern town, and the immediate assumption is that the outsider, a black man waiting at the train station, must be responsible. But the arrest doesn't go as planned. The man they pick up is a homicide detective from Philadelphia, highly trained, perfectly calm, and not at all interested in playing along. He's asked to help with the murder investigation and, after some hesitation, agrees, fully aware that his presence in this southern town is unwelcome. His partner is the local police chief, a man shaped by his surroundings who sees him less as a colleague than a complication. What follows is not a typical mystery, but a slow, uneasy collaboration between two men forced to confront their differences in order to uncover the truth. Through it all, the detective stays calm and focused. He never pleads to be understood and never backs down. Instead, he works methodically, piece by piece, even as the town resists his presence. The film won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and resonated not by offering comfort, but by showing how justice can take shape through quiet persistence and how dignity, even in silence, can shift the ground beneath it. The Sound of Music, 1965. It's a film about singing children in alpine sunshine, but underneath the soft lighting and catchy melodies is a war movie. Julie Andrews plays Maria, a former nun turned nanny, who teaches the Von Trapp children how to harmonize, just as Austria is harmonizing with fascism. It's cute, it's comforting, it's also quietly terrifying. The opening shot, a helicopter sweeping across Salzburg, nearly knocked Andrews over. That's not a metaphor, but it might as well be, because as she spins and sings, you're watching a country slip into authoritarianism. And the movie knows it. Every lesson doubles as a subtle rejection of Nazi ideology. Every family sing-along is an act of rebellion in disguise. This was the top-grossing film of its time, earning over $286 million globally. But Christopher Plummer hated it, called it the sound of mucus. And the real Von Trapps, they didn't escape over the Alps. They took a train. The whole thing's kind of a myth, a beautiful, manipulative, morally urgent myth. Yet maybe that's why it works. Because in an era where bad news was breaking daily, this film offered a melodic version of resistance. 8½, 1963. Guido Anselmi is a famous director with everything acclaim, admiration, freedom, except a single usable idea. He's supposed to be making a movie. Instead, he's hiding out in a spa, dodging producers, hallucinating dead relatives, and dreaming of his childhood. The film he's trying to make never really begins, and that becomes the film itself. There's no clear separation between what's real and what's imagined. A fantasy sequence might lead into a production meeting. A flashback might include people who were never there. The narrative builds in circles, layering guilt, nostalgia, and desire into something that feels less like a story and more like a confession. At one point, a massive spaceship set towers in the sand, part of a film no one understands, not even its creator. The title is literal, a count of past works leading to this one, marked as incomplete even before it starts. And somehow, despite the lack of resolution, it connected, it won major awards, played across Europe and America, and quietly redefined what a personal film could be. With its circus motifs, overlapping timelines, and refusal to land on one meaning, it influenced generations of directors who saw their own doubts reflected on screen and took that as permission to keep going anyway.